I'm Borszeky, and I'm the owner of Blockbuster Moody with my husband John. We've been in the video industry 30 years. We started out as Movieland, and Blockbuster took over Movieland, so we've been with them ever since, and now we're the last Blockbuster in Australia. We had a store in Yokine that actually burnt down. The year before, somebody broke in and to cover up the DNA and decided to burn it down. So we'd had the 3 stores. We had Vic Park, Yokine and Mount Lawley, and so it was a year before we could go back into that store, so we didn't bother doing that because all our customers had gone elsewhere, because in those days there were so many video stores around. So we just had the 2, and then when this one came up we thought, oh, we might try this one. It wasn't until we got all the media attention of being the last Blockbuster that we thought, oh, we were so surprised with all this attention, but before that, I guess we were just going along as a normal video store, and there were still a few others around, but in the last few years it's just been closing down so quickly, and I guess that's one reason we got to stay as long as we did, because as soon as one closes down, well, you get more customers from them, same as now we're closing down, that others they'll be going to the other couple of stores that are the closest stores. So
yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it quickly. Hello guys, I'm Spidey. I'm Spider-Man. Nice to meet you. Come down here to Video Easy and rent out any free movie if you dress up as Spider-Man. And guess what? That's right, Spider-Man is here, okay? So rent it now at Video Easy. See you guys.
Matthew Rolfe, and I would be called the operations manager for our family business here at Video Easy Spirit. I started in 1996 with Video Easy down in Bunbury. I started off as a returns runner, so basically I was just employed to take the returns out to the shelves. And actually one of my first roles was to rewind VHSs. So every night on a shift I'd run movies and stand there and rewind these videos that people didn't, even though it had the sticker on there that said please rewind. It was a different time back then. Obviously there was cinema and movie stores were it if you wanted to watch any home entertainment. There was no mobile phones, there was basically no other options. There was 3 TV channels down in Bunbury. So it was quite a busy store up until midnight most nights. Then I moved from there, went overseas, did a bit of a venture, moved back and managed a store in Adelaide for 3 years, which was interesting. And then got the opportunity to move back home to WA in 2004 when our family business decided to purchase Video Easy Spearwood. And that was when it was just up the road. And in 2006 we moved it down here into the building we're currently in. So we've been here for 13 years, 14 years. So yeah, it's been exciting. I've loved it.
My name's Dave Gianotti, and I was actually the owner and proprietor of Civic Video in Bunbury. How it really dawned upon me was when we made the decision to close. Just the amount of the community outpouring and the amount of people who you bump into on the street who pull you aside somewhere and were genuinely upset about the fact that something that has been a part of their life for 10, 20, 30 odd years is now no longer going to be around. And it's funny, it never really dawned upon me. I think because you work in it so much, you don't really understand sometimes what influence you may have on people around you. And it's only when we made that decision to close that it really dawned upon me and really got to me the fact that there are a lot of people out there who have grown up with it, if that makes any sense.
I think the community we've got customers who have been coming here since 2004. I've got an elderly couple who have been coming here every week purchasing ex-rental movies, because that's what his passion is about, building his own collection, since the day I opened. We've got customers who come once a month. We've got some who have used to come and visit us and now, you know, have disappeared for a while and come back.
That's a young fellow, John Mountford. His mother, Kathy, Kathy was Kathy's family. Well, John was the youngest member of the family, and there was a young little pint-sized little kid, maybe 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old, little red hair with freckles. And he used to come in all the time, and he got to a stage where he used to sit on the counter and he'd zap his own movies out. So he'd grab the wand and he'd open it up and he'd zap his own movies out, and then we'd come to the end of the counter and we'd hand them to him. And he was doing that from the time of being a really young kid. And there are a lot of similar stories like that. There were so many young kids who experienced that thing, grew up with the thing, and as time went on, I mean, Johnny and his family kept coming in over the years. We saw Johnny grow up from being a fairly young kid now to a fully mature adult in his, in his 30s.
What I would say though is that there's often this perception that our customers are from the older generation, because maybe through lack of knowledge about technology, but we've got a really mixed blend. It can be anything from young families through to young couples through to older people, but I wouldn't say it was generally older generation. It's a real blend, and there is this nostalgic response we get as well now, where customers are coming in and go, oh wow, and you can tell like they haven't been in a video store for a while, or we get a phone call to say, oh, is this Video Easy? And we're like, yeah. Are you guys still open? Yeah, we're still open. We answered the phone. So do you guys actually have a store? And we're like, yeah, we've got a store. Oh, I might bring the kids down and have a look. They've never been in a video store before. That sort of becomes quite humbling, that, we're that kind of, I wouldn't say we're a museum, because we're not accepting gold coin donations just yet, but we will look at it as a revenue stream if I need to, that, yeah, we are a bit of a, I don't know, like a nostalgic venue where people sort of come to reminisce about their childhood, or show the kids what we used to do.
Some of the characters in the industry over the years have been fascinating. Their stories and their enigmas in themselves.
It's a weird thing to happen, really, because who would think you'd have a tornado in Morley? Well, I was actually out in the car with my husband at the time, and we got a call from one of the staff members saying, there's been a storm and all the windows are broken, and the husband said, well, just call the glass people. He goes, I don't think that's going to do it. So we drove around, and driving up the street, we see bits of metal all wrapped around the big light poles up high, and stuff strewn everywhere. We thought, oh God, we got here, and the roof's peeled back, and the whole side of the store was just blown in, all the windows were gone, and it was just a mess. Probably half of the store, I suppose, was blown away, all the games that were in the car park. And the staff were fantastic. They were, in the next day we were cleaning everything up, and so we operated out of half a store for probably 6 months. We had a sort of wall down while they repaired the store, and we just kept going and moved on. So I think at the time, I guess you just, do what you got to do and move on. But it was
some other interesting ones, because at times we developed themes throughout the store. We had a horror room, we had an adult room, and all those sorts of things. I can remember one particular time I was sort of walking and I noticed the walls were sort of shaking, and as I walked in, there was this a guy who'd been coming in for a long time, and his girlfriend, and I was having sex in the adult room. So as I walked in, I sort of just turned around and casually looked. I was quite embarrassed about the whole thing, and sort of completed their business, tidied up, and off they went. So those sorts of things, they're the funny things that happen, and that you see in sort of this sort of industry, which at the time was nothing unusual. So there's a lot of little anecdote stories like that.
Probably maybe a bit longer, 8 years ago, one of the biggest events we ever held is where we gave away $1,000 cash, and all you had to do was rent a movie, and every time you rented a new release, you got a ticket into the draw. And I remember I don't know if I've still got photos, but back then this shop was full because you had to be here to win it. That was the premise. So you rented up for 2 months, got your tickets in the draw. You had to be here at 2 o'clock on a Sunday whenever we drew it. If you weren't, we redrew it. This place was packed to the brim of people, even spilling out into the road. We just recently did one for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So through our connections with the customers, so one of the biggest things I love about the shop is our engagement with the community and our conversations just over the counter. And that's generally where all of our interactions for events like that have occurred. So I've got a young gentleman who does some work with the Spider-Man.
Hello.
And I said to him, look, what are you doing on Saturday? Do you want to come down the shop for 2 hours? The kids would love it. Big kids as well would love it. And we'd love to have you down just to showcase the film and also just add a bit of, I don't know, something different to the store, a bit of an event. In the past though, we've had the Star Wars characters, they've come down quite regularly. And even earlier than that, probably the idea came about back in 1998 when I think My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts came out. My manager at the time, we all got dressed up in tuxedos. The girls got dressed up in wedding dresses and bridesmaids dresses, and we basically had a mock wedding on a Friday night at the shop. And it was just something to sort of engage the community, engage the customers. When they come in, they go, "Oh wow, this isn't just a grab something off the shelf, pay my money and walk out. It's a bit of a experience and engagement."
We had meetings every month, and we had conferences every year too. So we'd go to we went on a few, to Fiji and Coolum in Queensland. We catch up with people all over Australia, and we still keep in contact with them. Actually, a month ago we had friends over from Queensland that we caught up with, and this actually Saturday night we're catching up with some old Blockbuster people that have been out of or probably closed their stores down a few years ago. So we still keep in touch. We've made some really nice friends.
Yeah, I know Matty from Video Easy in Speedwood. Yeah, I know his mum and dad incredibly well. Lovely people. That's the beauty about the industry. There's, as much as you compete against people, they're your opposition, whether it's Video Easy, Blockbuster. In WA, people have always got on with each other, regardless of what group they're in. Because when you look at what's happened, it's really the way I sort of look at the industry. The GFC really, that almost became the catalyst, I think, that didn't just change the industry, I think it changed society. I think that accelerated the rate of change, the rate of technological change and the pace of it that we've seen, and very much so in our industry.
We'd already had a bit of a couple of years before when all the new digital channels came in. We took a hit from that because there was so many more channels for people to watch. So that we sort of were just bouncing back from that when Netflix hit, and I guess we probably weren't prepared for the impact that would have on the industry, really.
I've sort of got differing opinions on Netflix. The Netflix argument always often surprises me because Netflix is great for content, breadth of content, although some would argue that Australia's breadth of content is quite limited. I think as a new person to it, you'd be overwhelmed by it all, but once you get into it and you watch what you want, there's not really much left. But I think Netflix came in at a time where there's so many options. You can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on a tablet. People sit on the bus and you watch them all. No one's talking to each other, no one's conversing. They're all on their phones watching or doing something in regards to content. So I think that's where a lot of these digital platforms took the attention away from video stores as such. It wasn't a new release product, it was just availability of content. That's where I saw it.
And I guess we can't really just blame Netflix, really. It's a change in lifestyle. People are a lot busier. Some don't want to have to come out. They'd rather just get home and stream off their TV or do whatever. And there's so many more platforms to watch movies or for entertainment. I think it's, a lot of things that attributed to the downfall.
Oh, look, with any store. I never had the fortune of meeting Lynn and John. They've had a fair bit of media activity of late, which has been fantastic fantastic from the point of view of the industry, and I think making people aware. I think often people associate the closure of stores with Netflix and the internet, but it's a lot bigger than that. There's a lot more other things that come into play, and overheads, leases, the cost of goods, all these things come into play, and it is always disappointing, or not disappointing because it's not their fault, but sad when we see another store close, because one, we realise the impact on the surrounding community. We understand the impact it must have on the owners and the staff and the people that have worked there and been involved in that, and you get a reaction from the community straight away when you might be quiet, but if all of a sudden word of shutting down, because I've been involved with some Video Easy shutting down in the past, I wouldn't like to say they come out of the woodwork, but for choice of no better word, they sort of do, and they're sort of, they get emotional because there's a connection, and those connections are often memories, not so much they're disappointed that you're shutting down. I get that, but it's often there's a disappointment because of the connection of the memories they have of visiting you, or they might feel a bit of guilt about not being able to visit as much because of how busy our lives have become. So yeah, when I heard another one closing down, you sort of go, oh gosh, and then all the attention turns to us, and we get phone calls of like, oh, we hear you're shutting down. It's like, well, actually, no, not at this stage. No, we're soldiering on. But when was the last time you rented? Maybe you should come and rent something. So yeah, look, it was sad for them. I get it. Thankfully, at the moment, whilst we thought about it before this other opportunity came up, we've put it aside for now because we're excited about what's happening next.
I think we're proud, yeah. But sad, very sad to be closing because it's been 30 years of our life, and yeah, it's going to be gone. And the fact that when we paid a lot of money for our stores, we thought we'd be selling them and funding our retirement, but having to close the doors and walk away is not an easy thing. It's financially, physically, and emotionally. Really, there's a lot of a lot of different emotions closing down a business. Oh well, I mean, we've had lots of closing down, but as it turns out, one of our staff members used to live in Bunbury and he worked at the Civic in Bunbury, yeah, and that was a big store to be closing down there. But no, I guess we're used to them. There've been so many closing down, over the years that yeah, just one of those things we became used to, really.
Yeah, most probably Christmas of 2018, Christmas has just gone by. Because traditionally December, January are the busiest times of the year. So we got through, November was just an average November. December, at the end of December it sort of looked like it was just, things were just line ball, just breaking even. You're sitting there saying, well, and the industry's been on a decline since 2010, sort of that way, and it's sort of heading. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you're trying to alleviate that to make it any better. So the only other way you change that is, you start chopping your store in half, cutting back down on those sorts of things. So you start doing that, you trim everything else in your business to a point where, because you've only got a couple of variable costs in your business. One is your wages, and two is your stock. The rest of the other things you don't have much control over. You then go down the path of working 7 days a week yourself. You then go, get rid of everybody altogether. And I didn't really I got to a point where at countdown of December, it was like, no, I can't keep doing this. And I actually got to a stage where myself, I was actually at a point where I was in a pretty low place. And I thought, I've just got to call it, I've just got to end it. So that was the hard part. Once the decision was made, it's funny, you encapsulate, you've got the ability to then quantify everything, and you then go forward, and it's not as difficult. The hardest part is actually making that decision. So to do it for so long and to enjoy it for so long, there's not many people who find a job or a profession that they love getting up to and going to work every single morning. And when you find that, that's sort of pretty special. And it was like that for the first 23, 24 years. It was magic. The last 5 or 6 were tough because the industry, you could see what was happening in the industry, and the point was going to come one day where, regardless of what we do, we're not going to be around forever. And that was the hard part.
Well, we closed 2 of our other stores about 2 years ago, so that was difficult. But I think rent was a big factor in one of them. If it's not just whether you've got enough customers coming in, you've got rents are usually quite high, and electricity and everything you've got to pay to run a business, and your wages, so you've got to put everything into perspective. And so when we closed out, but this one we didn't actually have a choice because our franchise is up with Blockbuster, and they knew it being the only store left in Australia, they want to sort of wrap it up and get out of it. So, but having said that, I mean, we maybe could have gone month to month, but there still was going to be a time limit on it anyway, because even with all the publicity and the new members, we're still down, percentage-wise on last year. So it would only be a matter of time, and it wasn't worth rebranding to another name because the cost in that wouldn't be worth the expense, really. Yes, so it's been it was a good industry to be in, but unfortunately technology caught up with us.
is me? Am I here? Where's Spider-Man? He's here somewhere. Oh, here it is. That's me. You see? But now I'm in the real life.